Dragonriders of Pern is a science fiction series written primarily by American-Irish author Anne McCaffrey, who initiated it in 1967. Beginning 2003, her middle child Todd McCaffrey has written Pern novels, both solo and jointly with Anne. The series comprises 22 novels and several short stories. Most of the short fiction has been collected in 2 volumes or incorporated in one of the novels, so Dragonriders of Pern is sometimes identified with the 24 books. 2 of the novellas included in the first novel, Dragonflight, made McCaffrey the first woman to win a Hugo and Nebula Award. Overview. Life on Pern as presented in the novels resembles a pre-industrial society with lords, heralds, harpers, and dragons, with the occasional examples of higher technology. Pern's people are described as belonging to 4 basic groups: wayfolk who live in the ways, the holders who live in the heralds, the crafters who live in craft halls, and the holders who have no permanent home. One of the main threats to Pern's civilization in the series is Thread, which is described as a mycorrhizoid spore that periodically rains down on the planet due to the orbit of the Red Star. The Red Star is set out to be a rogue planet in the Rook-Bat system. The Red Star, characterized as a Sedna-class inner or cloud object, has a 250-turn elliptic orbit around its sun. Thread can reach the planet Pern for about 50 turns while the Red Star is at perihelion. Thread is described in this series as an agent that consumes organic material at voracious rate, including crops, animals, and any humans in its path. The Pernies use intelligent fire-breathing dragons and the riders to fight Thread. The riders have a telepathic bond with the dragons, formed by impression at the dragon's hatching. Later books deal with the initial colonization of Pern and the creation of the dragons through genetic manipulation. The lengthy time period covered by the series as a whole allows room for new stories and characters, explored by each new novel released by the authors. Publications by the McCaffreys. This list is arranged in publication order. For Pern historical order, see the chronological list of Pern books. There are 23 Dragonriders of Pern novels and 2 collections of short stories through July 2012. Anne McCaffrey once requested reading the works in the order they were written. That differs greatly from Pern historical order, for several reasons. The McCaffreys have published stories set in several different periods of Pern's history, from initial exploration to more than 2,500 years after landing. Multiple stories feature the same events from different viewpoints. Some stories feature travel between times, even across centuries. Todd McCaffrey, writing alone or with his mother, has specialized in an early time period. Original trilogy. These stories take place immediately before and during the 9th pass, about 2,500 years after landing. Dragonflight 1968 by Anne McCaffrey. Dragon Quest 1970 by Anne McCaffrey. The White Dragon 1978 by Anne McCaffrey. The trilogy was released 1978 in omnibus edition titled The Dragonriders of Pern by Nelson Doubleday Science Fiction Book Club. Harper Hall Trilogy. These stories take place immediately prior to and concurrently with those depicted in Dragon Quest and The White Dragon. Dragon Song by Anne McCaffrey. Dragon Sing It by Anne McCaffrey. Dragon Drums by Anne McCaffrey. The Harper Hall Trilogy was released 1984 in omnibus edition titled The Harper Hall of Pern by Nelson Doubleday Science Fiction Book Club. Dragon Song was subtitled Volume 1 of the Harper Hall Trilogy on the front cover of the Bantam Spectra edition, March 1986. Other fiction by Anne McCaffrey. Morita, Dragon Lady of Pern by Anne McCaffrey. Nerulka's Story by Anne McCaffrey. Dragon's Dawn by Anne McCaffrey. The Impression by Jody Lynn Nye and Anne McCaffrey. Renegades of Pern by Anne McCaffrey. All the Ways of Pern by Anne McCaffrey. The Chronicles of Pern, First Fall, by Anne McCaffrey. The Survey, P.E.R.N. The Dolphins as Bell, The Ford of Red Hanrahan. The Second Weir. Rescue Run. The Dolphins of Pern, by Anne McCaffrey. Red Star Rising, by Anne McCaffrey. The Master Harper of Pern, by Anne McCaffrey. The Skies of Pern, by Anne McCaffrey. A Gift of Dragons, by Anne McCaffrey. The Smallest Dragon Boy, by Anne McCaffrey. The Girl Who Heard Dragons, by Anne McCaffrey. Runner of Pern, by Anne McCaffrey. Ever the Twain. Beyond Between. On Dragon Wings. An omnibus containing Dragon's Dawn, Dragon's Eye and Morita, was published in 2003. Books by Todd McCaffrey are both. Since 2003, Anne McCaffrey and her middle child Todd McCaffrey have developed the history immediately before and during the third pass, about 500 turns after landing. Dragon's Skin, Dragon's Blood, Dragon's Fire, Dragon Harper, Dragon Heart, Dragon Girl, Dragon's Time, Sky Dragons. Books in progress after the fall is over, set after the 9th pass in New Era Pern, the latest in Pern historical order. This book will be finished by her children. Awards. Weir Search won the inaugural Hugo Award for Best Novella in 1968 and Dragonrider won the Nebula Award for Best Novella in 1969. Dragon Quest, The White Dragon, Morita, Dragon Lady of Pern and All the Ways of Pern were among the 5 annual finalists for the Best Novel Hugo Award. Other works. Gamebooks and companion books. The Atlas of Pern by Karen Winfonstad. ISBN 0-345-314-328. ISBN 0-345-314-344 for authorized pornography, including annotated maps, illustrated descriptions of ways, holds, and halls, chronologies, and more. Dragon Harper Gamebook by Jody Lynn Nye. Dragonfire Gamebook by Jody Lynn Nye. People of Pern by Robin Wood and Anne McCaffrey. ISBN 0898656354. Portraits and other illustrations. The Dragon Lover's Guide to Pern by Jody Lynn Nye with Anne McCaffrey. ISBN 0345354249. Second edition 1997, ISBN 0-345-41274-5. Pern Geography, Society, Flora, Fauna, etc., including information not in the previously published fiction. Graphic novel. In 1991, Dragonflight, the first Pern book published, was released as a set of 3 graphic novels by Eclipse Books of Forestville, California. The first 2 were illustrated by Leila Dowling and Fred Von Tobel, the third by Leila Dowling and Cynthia Martin. The story was adapted by Brint Stevens. Music of Pern. There are 2 CDs of music relating to the teaching ballads and the works of Master Harper Robinson and Menely. The Master Harper of Pern was made in 1998 by Anglo-Alaskan duo Tanya Oakland and Mike Freeman in collaboration with Anne McCaffrey at her request, and features the music of Robinson. The project began as an idea to include written music in the book of the same name, printed on the inner faces of the cover. By the time the composers had written and auditioned the early drafts at the author's table, it was clear that making the songs a reality to their creators' satisfaction was finally possible. The CD project was completed some 18 months later and released to the approval of the author and fans of the series worldwide. The second CD, pertaining mainly to the work Another Pern is Harper Menely, was completed in December 2008. Entitled Sunset's Gold, this features Oakland and Freeman with other musicians, and comprises 12 tracks of music recorded from 2006 to 2008. The CD includes the ballad 400 Turns, written by Anne McCaffrey shortly after she completed Dragonflight. Quote, It was placed in a desk drawer where it lay forgotten for almost 40 years until the author rediscovered it just as the CD project was underway. It had never been seen or published before. Songbooks are also available containing the music from the first CD, with a similar book for the second in the works. Television and film adaptations. Prior to 1995, the motion picture and ancillary rights to the literary property were optioned by various entities, including Robert Mandel and Kerry Skoglund. In 1996, McCaffrey sold the motion picture rights to an Irish company, Anne.The, who entered into a co-production agreement with Alliance Atlantis, covering development including advanced 3D animation and compositing effects for television budgets. Distribution pre-sale efforts failed, and Anne.The entered into an agreement with Ronald D. Moore as showrunner to present the project to Warner Brothers Network. In 2002, Warner Brothers Network and writer Ronald D. Moore had completed sets and casting for a pilot episode, and were within a few days of filming. Moore had sent the pilot episode to Warner's for final approval. It was returned with so many changes to the basic structure of Pern, making it more like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Xena, Warrior Princess, that it no longer much resembled the world created by Anne McCaffrey. As a fan of the Dragonriders of Pern series, Moore refused to continue. Filming was cancelled, and rights ownership remained with Anne.The as assigned KUA Media Corporation. In May 2006, it was announced that rights to the entire Dragonriders of Pern series were optioned by Oscar-winning production company Copperheart Entertainment. Copperheart announced their intention to bring Pern to the big screen. On the 12th of April 2011, Copperheart announced signing David Hayter as screenwriter and Don Murphy as executive producer for a film version of Dragonflight, with production expected to begin in 2012. On the 29th of July 2014, Warner Brothers optioned all 22 volumes of the series for a feature live-action film. On the 11th of November 2014, Warner Brothers announced the hire of author-screenwriter Sarah Cornwell to adapt the first installment of the series. Games. There have been several games released based on the Pern series. In 1983, Mayfair Games created a board game, Dragonriders of Pern, featuring cards with Pern characters and locations. This game is now rare and valuable to Pern collectors. In 1984, Gallimard published Dragonriders of Pern, the book game, a game in which two players use illustrated books to resolve aerial engagement against the threads. In 1983, EPYX released the video game Dragonriders of Pern for the Atari 800 and Commodore 64, in which the player could battle thread and engage in diplomacy on Pern. In 2001, a video game, Dragonriders: Chronicles of Pern, was created by Ubisoft Entertainment for the PC and Dreamcast under license from Anne.The, the Irish corporation which owns the motion picture, gaming and ancillary rights. This game follows a dragon rider as he searches for young women to be candidates for impressing a new gold dragon, and battles the bad guys on an adventure across Pern. A number of online MUD-style games have been created exploring the Pern universe, most notably Pernmush. These are unofficial and tend to center on role-playing rather than combat. Fandom. Pern fandom consists of a large variety of fan communities. The largest part of fandom is made up by clubs that allow the members to play Pern by creating original characters within the setting of Anne McCaffrey's world. to avoid conflicts with Pern canon and trademarks. Each club typically chooses a particular location and timeline as a unique setting different from Anne McCaffrey's established history of Pern. Most commonly, clubs are named for the main year chosen as playing location. Historically, the first clubs started out publishing printed fanzines containing fan fiction and artwork. With the advent of the Internet, clubs using online technology such as role-play via chat or email became popular. Text-based online virtual reality games, primarily Mush and Muck variants such as Pern Mush, have modeled Pern since the early 1990s. In the mid-90s, stringent rules were placed on the creation of new clubs and the governance of existing clubs, resulting in legal action against them fans. For example, no new fan-created games were allowed while the game rights were licensed to Ubisoft for the development of the Dragonriders Chronicles of Pern computer game. In November 2004, Anne McCaffrey relaxed her fandom rules significantly and allowed Pern's fan fiction to be posted freely throughout the Internet. Soon after, fan fiction sites such as fanfiction.net started offering the opportunity to post and read fan fiction based on Anne McCaffrey's works. The relaxing of the rules also resulted in the appearance of message board-based games as another popular club type. Fan sites no longer require approval and are not bound to the formally strict canon rules, resulting in fan clubs testing out alternatives such as new dragon colors or off-Pern scenarios. From 2000 until 2005, Anne McCaffrey's website offered a popular discussion forum and chat for fans to interact with each other and with the author. After its discontinuation in January 2005, several fan-organized discussion forums have taken its place as an outlet for fan activity. Offline, the largest Pern fan gathering is Wayfest, held yearly at Dragon*Con since 1992. Over the last few years, Anne McCaffrey and Todd McCaffrey were frequent attendees at Wayfest, offering fans a chance to meet the authors in person. Anne was originally scheduled to attend the 2011 Dragon*Con, but had deferred her appearance until the 2012 event due to heart problems, just a few months ahead of her death in late November.